Trump readies matching tariffs on trade partners, possibly setting up a major economic showdown. President Donald Trump is taking additional action to upset the world trade system, with plans to sign an order this week that would require that U.S. tariffs on imports match the tax rates charged by other countries. It's time to be reciprocal. You'll be hearing that word a lot, reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them. The president had suggested that the order would come on Tuesday or Wednesday, but when Tuesday passed, without the tariffs being officially announced, Trump was not specific on his timing, telling reporters Wednesday afternoon, "I may do it later on, or I may do it tomorrow morning." She believes that the tariffs would come before Thursday's visit by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. As Trump has unleashed a series of tariffs after being in power for less than a month, he has fully taken ownership of the path of the United States economy. It's a bet that his economic ideas can eventually deliver meaningful results for voters. Even if, by Trump's own admission, the import taxes could involve some financial pain in the form of inflation and economic disruptions. For all of Trump's talk, the impact will likely depend on the details of the tariffs and how other nations respond. A reciprocal tariffs order could amount to a substantial tax hike to be shouldered largely by United States consumers and businesses, as the Census Bureau reported that the country had total imports of $4.1 trillion last year. The tariffs could set off retaliatory measures by trading partners that could roil growth around the globe and reset where the United States stands with allies and rivals alike. By signing the order, Trump would fulfill his long-standing pledge to raise taxes on most imported goods, a clear break with his recent White House predecessors who saw tariffs as either targeted tools to use strategically or barriers worth lowering. Trump has broken with that precedent by saying he wants to return the United States to the 1890s when taxes on imports were the government's dominant source of revenues. But should job gains never materialize and should inflation stay high, it's an easy line of attack for Democratic lawmakers and candidates that Trump helped the ultra-wealthy at the expense of the middle class. No matter which way you slice it, costs are going to climb for consumers. I will work with my colleagues to undo this mess, get costs down, and get these billionaires out of the way. In recent times, the global response to President Trump's policies has been, well, quite varied. Many nations have expressed concern over his hardline stance, particularly when it comes to trade and international relations. Trump's motives, as he often states, are rooted in putting America first, aiming to protect domestic industries and jobs. However, this approach has led to a series of complex diplomatic challenges. Trump put 10% tariffs on China over its contributions to the production of the illicit drug fentanyl, and China has taken retaliatory measures. He said he is ready if necessary in early March, after a 30-day suspension, to put tariffs on Mexico and Canada over his belief they should do more to fight illegal immigration and drug smuggling. On Monday, he closed the exemptions to his 2018 tariffs on steel and aluminum, in addition to raising the tariff rates on aluminum. He has also talked about additional taxes on imported autos, computer chips, and pharmaceutical drugs. Many of America's dominant trading partners are preparing for an economic rupture in reaction to Trump's possible actions. Unjustified tariffs on the EU will not go unanswered. They will trigger firm and proportionate countermeasures. That means motorcycles, jeans, bourbon, and peanut butter from the United States could face new taxes abroad. Mexico and Canada, America's two largest trading partners, have also prepared countermeasures. Multiple Trump aides have privately said that Trump's long-standing goal with tariffs has been reciprocity, but Trump has also portrayed tariffs as a diplomatic tool to try to force Canada and Mexico to spend more resources on stopping illegal immigration and drug trafficking into the United States. He also suggested repeatedly that tariffs would be a source of revenues that could offset his planned income tax cuts. The global trade landscape has once again been thrown into disarray. On February 11, 2025, the Trump administration announced sweeping new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. These tariffs, set at 25%, represent a significant escalation in protectionist policies. Unlike previous rounds of tariffs in 2018 and 2019, these new measures offer no exemptions. This means that all countries, including close allies, will be subject to the tariffs. The decision sent shockwaves through the global economy. Many saw it as a betrayal of long-standing trade relationships. The move has been widely condemned by business groups and trade partners alike. They argue that the tariffs will harm both the U.S. economy and global trade. The Trump administration, however, remains defiant. They argue that the tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs. They claim that the U.S. steel and aluminum industries have been unfairly targeted by foreign competitors. The tariffs are set to take effect on March 12, 2025. This gives businesses and governments a short window to adjust to the new reality. How this trade war will ultimately play out remains to be seen. One thing is certain: the global economy is in for a period of uncertainty and volatility. The immediate impact of the tariff announcement was felt most acutely in financial markets. Asian stock markets, heavily reliant on global trade, reacted with a mix of apprehension and volatility. Major steel and aluminum producers saw their share prices plummet. Nippon Steel of Japan and POSCO of South Korea experienced declines of 4.5% and 3.8% respectively. The European giant ArcelorMittal was not spared either, with its stock price falling by 3.2%. The broader market indices across Asia painted a mixed picture. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, and Manila all registered negative reactions to the news. The uncertainty surrounding the tariffs and their potential impact on regional supply chains weighed heavily on investor sentiment. However, there was one notable exception to this trend: South Korea's KOSPI index. Despite the country's reliance on steel and aluminum exports, its stock market saw gains. This surprising resilience can be attributed to a number of factors. These include existing tariff-free quotas on South Korean steel, and the potential for Seoul to leverage its strategic position in negotiations with Washington. The initial market reactions highlight the complex and interconnected nature of the global economy. While some sectors and countries brace for the worst, others see potential opportunities amidst the uncertainty. The coming weeks and months will reveal the full extent of the tariffs' impact on Asian markets and economies. Among the Asian economies, Vietnam finds itself particularly vulnerable to the fallout from the new U.S. tariffs. As a rapidly growing exporter of manufactured goods, Vietnam has become deeply integrated into global supply chains. This integration, however, comes with a cost, as the country is now exposed to the protectionist measures being erected by the United States. Vietnam's steel and aluminum exports to the U.S., though relatively small at 0.3% of its 2024 GDP, are now subject to the full brunt of the 25% tariffs. This will undoubtedly harm Vietnamese producers, potentially leading to job losses and reduced investment in the sector. The tariffs come at a particularly inopportune time for Vietnam, as it was banking on continued export growth to fuel its economic expansion. Furthermore, Vietnam's reliance on China for raw materials and intermediate goods adds another layer of complexity. With the U.S. also threatening tariffs on Chinese goods, Vietnam's manufacturing sector could face a double whammy of increased input costs and reduced access to the U.S. market. The Vietnamese government is now faced with the difficult task of mitigating the negative impacts of the tariffs while navigating the treacherous waters of U.S.-China trade tensions. In contrast to Vietnam's vulnerability, South Korea appears to be relatively well-positioned to weather the storm of the new U.S. tariffs. The country benefits from a pre-existing tariff-free quota on steel exports to the U.S., negotiated during the 2018 trade disputes. While recent exports have fallen below this quota, it provides a degree of breathing room for South Korean producers. Moreover, South Korea's technological prowess and its position as a key player in the global supply chains for semiconductors, electric vehicles, and other high-tech goods give it a degree of leverage in its dealings with the U.S. The Biden administration's focus on securing supply chains for critical technologies could work in South Korea's favor. However, it is not all smooth sailing for Seoul. The Korea Development Institute, a government-funded think tank, has already revised down its 2025 growth forecast for the country by 0.4% to 1.6%, citing concerns over the impact of the U.S. tariffs on global trade. South Korea's ability to leverage its strengths and navigate the uncertainties of the global trade environment will be crucial in determining its economic fortunes in the years to come. As the tariff war intensifies, Canada and the European Union are starting to feel the pressure. The ripple effects of the trade conflict are spreading far and wide, impacting industries and economies on both sides of the Atlantic. Canada, heavily reliant on its trade relationship with the United States, finds itself in a precarious position. The tariffs are hitting key sectors like steel and aluminum, causing significant economic strain. Meanwhile, over in Europe, the situation isn't much different. The European Union, with its intricate web of trade agreements and partnerships, is also grappling with the fallout. Industries across the continent are facing increased costs and uncertainty, making it difficult to plan for the future. It's clear that the tariff war is not just a bilateral issue, it's a global one, affecting nations and economies around the world. The stakes are high, and the outcomes are uncertain. As tariffs escalate, businesses and consumers alike brace for higher prices. Supply chains, once seamless, now face significant disruptions. Companies must navigate these choppy waters, finding new ways to maintain efficiency and cost-effectiveness. The tariff war brings a mixed bag of opportunities and challenges. Some industries may benefit from reduced competition, while others struggle to adapt. Businesses must stay agile, seizing new opportunities while mitigating risks. Interestingly, Southeast Asia might see a silver lining. With companies looking to diversify their supply chains, this region could become a new manufacturing hub. Nations here are poised to attract investments, driving economic growth. The economic landscape of Asia is being reshaped, trade routes are being redrawn, alliances are shifting, and new economic powers are emerging. This transformation presents both challenges and opportunities for countries across the continent.